Good evening, all of our viewers this evening. My name is Diane Welborn, and I am the Ombudsman, and I'm the host tonight for the Ombudsman program. So, welcome to you all. I'd like to begin by introducing my guest, whom I'm very honored to have tonight to talk to about her position as serving seniors in the city of Kettering. I have with me tonight Natallie Storms. Welcome, Natallie.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And your title is actually the Senior Services Coordinator for the City of Kettering, and it's a little bit of a new position for you, I believe. Would you like to describe a bit about when you came to the position, and then we'll get into the history of the program that you coordinate?
So, Vicki Carehart was with the City of Kettering for 15 years and did the senior service coordination with the Kettering Connection, which that program's been around almost 20 years. So I started March 27th was my first day, and Vicki retired in April. So I had a couple weeks with Vicki to adjust into the role. I got to work at Kettering Connection for until the end of July, and now I'm over at the city government building.
Very good. It's nice to have that smooth transition between a person that has been doing a job for a long time and a new person coming in. You get to know all the ropes and all the behind the scenes stuff that it's good to know. Well, I think that many of our viewers may not know that the city of Kettering has, even though we know that Vicki Carahart did this for 15 years. I'm not sure all our viewers really know that the city of Kettering has devoted resources to have a senior services coordinator for all this time. And I'm not sure they know very much about the senior connections that you mentioned. Is it correct that Kettering is the first municipality in Montgomery County to have or to create and fund such a position to serve seniors?
Yeah, in 2000, they created the senior services coordination position, and Deborah Childress. Um, in this geriatric world in Montgomery County, everyone knows who she was.
Yeah.
She was the actual first senior service coordinator until 2008 when Vicki took over after she moved on. And that position was an initiative of our city council, which our current mayor, Peggy Lehner, she was a huge advocate, and they did a geriatric task force prior to that for a couple years to see what the needs and services were. At that time, Kettering had a huge older adult population, retirement population. Um, in the last 23 years, we've kind of numbers have kind of slimmed off a little more. You know, we do have excellent schools here, so we are a very family oriented community in Kettering, but our geriatric population is about 18% right now. So it's slowing down a little bit, but the need and services are greater. As I mean, you work with the ombudsman, that the needs and services for older adults is just increasing. So that's a little bit
Right,
about.
right, because so many individuals are turning 65 every day, and I'm surprised to hear it's slimmed down a little bit, but it may pick up again, because that's kind of our whole demographics are changing, and particularly in the state of Ohio. Um, so, who else was kind of behind this initiative in Kettering to start this program?
So our city council was the main drivers at that time, and it was Peggy Lehner and all them, and Deborah Childress and all them have pushed it forward, and the city managers and so forth, and they just keep building on that initiative. It's not slowed down any, and it's become a facet for a lot of the seniors too. I know when we closed the town and country location, um, it was a big change for them that, they didn't have that little hub in town and country anymore. But of course, it's also a big change with me, with Vicky retiring. So we're doing the change together slowly and working through the changes of, with COVID, it changed there was such a dramatic change in how to provide services to individuals with COVID. And the older populations are getting a little more frail, and it's just more convenient to go into their homes and help them instead of trying to get them to the town and country. So we're trying to shift gears a
Right.
little bit to make it more convenient.
Okay, well that's very interesting to know. So the town and country era is over because more seniors need attention in their homes. Is that right?
Yeah, and also, you got to watch your budgets and so forth, and rent
Always.
increases. Yeah. And I'm learning that, I was in the nonprofit world for a long time, so we never had money. So I understand when we have to downsize and slim. That's nothing new. So,
Yes, I think as you said, everybody in the nonprofit world has done it multiple times. And COVID also brought, very exceptional circumstances for the kind of services that your program coordinates. Do you I know that you're there to serve all the seniors in Kettering with all of their needs across the board. But do you have a certain population that you find yourself working with, for any particular length of time? Like how many are served in your office? However you keep your data. Is it monthly? Is it however?
so in our database, I have about 1,900 seniors registered.
Okay.
Um, I'm averaging about 50 to 52 seniors a month that I'm working with, or working with their families.
Yes.
I average about 40 a month, anywhere from 30 to 40. It depends how busy I am that month.
Right, right, precisely. And then, do you know of other municipalities, either in Montgomery County or beyond, that also have positions similar to yours?
I know Washington Township has Betsy Coles. She was just hired on, I believe it was June, with West Rec, and she took over the Washington Township senior program. I'm trying to remember. Um,
That's okay. All right.
yeah,
That's
but
good enough.
Betsy, so with Washington Township, they are also, we work with Miami Valley Regional Planning with their age-friendly communities, and I
Yes.
know a lot of the other cities are starting to look and invest in question, and we're getting really involved in the side that I do and the services I provide, and me and Betsy now have each other, which prior service coordinators really didn't have that with another city, so it's nice that me and Betsy can professionally bounce ideas and suggestions off of each other and help each other grow and develop, because we're both kind of new working in the city realm with the older adults.
It's really nice to have a colleague, isn't it? To get to, exchange ideas with and to partner with whenever possible. So, but are you getting like inquiries from other municipalities who are considering this and asking, how do we set one up and how do we think about this and how much do we budget for it and all of those questions?
Yeah, with I just started with the age friendly network, so I wasn't in all those in depth conversations, but as we're going and as we're meeting, people are picking our brains and asking us, how we provide it, what we work with And we also have the crisis intervention specialist with the police department that we contract out. So I also work with Nicole. So that's a nice facet to have also with the city is two of us trying to deal with situations and individuals in the city.
That's good. So that's another colleague that, runs into seniors that are in a different situation maybe than the ones that call you, but we'll come back to that in a second. Although that's pretty related to this next question I had, is it how do you and the other Kettering staff reach out to seniors to let them know that this is there? Because I think we know that many times seniors are not aware that a program is available until they start going to look for it or until they stumble over it in some way or another. So how do you conduct your outreach? I know you're busy every day doing the services and providing the services, but outreach is always something important as well.
So I do a lot of fire referrals. So the fire department does a lot of referrals over to me. I work with Nicole and the police department on that end. We also, our social media, I try to make sure it gets in all our publications because Kettering does do their quarterly magazines that
Yeah.
they put information in. They have their monthly newsletters and so forth. So we try to get that information out that way. I also try to go to networking um, in the community. I also try to work with other providers, trying to get the information out there. Um, Go to community events, just get involved and try to make my face out there and put it out there on media that I'm there. So
It sounds like you're pretty much taking every single opportunity that arises to figure out how to get that information out there, and that's really good that they have the publications and the other. You mentioned fire referrals, and I'd like to kind of follow up on that a bit because, of course, when many of our fellow citizens are having a crisis of some kind, they're calling the EMTs or they're calling the departments, but you specifically mentioned fire. So please elaborate a little bit on how those referrals come to you and usually what's going on with those people behind the referrals.
yeah. So Kettering sends out their EMTs and a fire engine. So it's a collaborative effort when anybody gets a call, even for a fall or a lift assist, they send both out. So the fire departments and the EMT, they work together with the chiefs and stuff, and they'll say, hey, we just saw a senior that we think could use some extra services or programs. You may want to go see and have a talk with and make sure they're okay. So I do a lot of follow-ups for them or work with the hospitals if someone does go in or follow up with family because sometimes I'm working with family already and the senior has a fall and the fire department will say, hey, we were just out here, and I'll be like, oh, already talked to the daughter-in-law and we were working on that. So it's a nice collaborative effort when it's a team effort approach, that, they're giving me information and I'm giving them information back.
And it sounds like it really is a good team effort, but it sounds like you never know in the morning what referrals are going to come to you from what has happened from the fire department from the day before. You can you have no clue who's going to need your help the next day in that kind of referral. Yeah. Okay, this is a call-in show, and I'm reminding the viewers of that. Natalie, of course, already knew it, but we have a caller, and I'm going to present the question because through Zoom they're not directly connected to us, but the question are typed for us. And so the first question we have this evening is from a person that says, I'm a senior about to turn 70, but still working, and my employer supplies my health care and coverage. I'm confused about what to do about Medicare. Okay. Well, oh, could your guest help me understand what I should do? Should I call Medicare myself? Yes. Well, thank you for that question. I'm sure that you are not the only one that's watching the program tonight or sitting out there not watching who does have that question. So even though Natallie is not the Medicare specialist, I'll let you give him your guidance on that one, please.
Yeah, I would either get a hold, of course, the Medicare Connection in Town and Country there, or Medicare IQ. They can help you through that, or call um, Medicare and discuss because you still have health care coverage. And with everybody's situations being so unique anymore, I always tell them to call Social Security and always follow up with Medicare too, because there could be one little situation we don't know about, or the person doesn't know about, that they can find out on their computer systems. And I wouldn't want to give anybody the wrong information because you don't want to mess up your medical coverage. So I would recommend to call Medicare and Social Security just to make sure you're starting your coverages correctly for your Medicare.
Yes, thank you, Natallie. That's a very good response because while uh, those who are not Medicare or Social Security employees may know a lot, you're right that in the end, they're the authority and they're the ones that are going to say. And so we can give advice, we can get people started, but they need to ultimately deal with the agency that's going to be making those important decisions. So again, viewers, we are a call-in program, and we welcome whatever your calls are and whatever your questions are. That's why we're here to try to help with that. Um, how are there other things that you wanted to mention about your outreach before I dive into asking you about the type of services that you provide? And that's exactly what's coming up from a caller in the chat. It's like, what does Natallie do in her position to support seniors, and can she be specific? So why don't you give a rundown about the day in the life of the Kettering social service provider?
Okay, so what I do is I field calls, I do resources to other professionals. I'll give them list of resources, guide them. I can do home visits. When I come out and do home visits, we can discuss what the issues are, what their concerns are. I can do anything from helping with applications, helping them submit the applications, getting the documentation, um, figuring out what documentation may be missing or why they couldn't get an assessment or couldn't get something done. So um, for an example, there was a resident who her caregiver couldn't do, didn't have time to be doing her paperwork for Area on Aging. And she kept getting denied her Medicaid. And so I went in for 2 months and we called to get her pensions and we called to get copies of her Social Security stuff. Um, because she just wasn't able to do that anymore. And there was a lot of things she couldn't remember because she had some cognitive decline.
Right,
So it was a lot of digging and rooting and trying to figure out the little things she couldn't remember and working with her, calling and applying and filling out things. So I kind of do things like that. I also have done video calls with family in California. They want to know how Ohio's process is, what
right,
programs and services are here.
right.
So I kind of do little things like that. I help people set up the Kettering transportation. I can help them fill out the applications. I can take the application in and pay their payments for them and get their punch card. So I can do a variety of things. It can be intense case management. It could just be answering or giving them a list of housing resources. So it's kind of over the whole spectrum of helping them be self sufficient and independent, but being there to be supportive. I do not provide home health care. I do not do any personal services. Um, I can help occasionally, like if something, if they need something small or need, I don't know, if I know someone who has a walker and it's donated, I can run them a walker or something like that. Just the basic little simple things, but the intense home care and cleaning and fixing and mowing yards and stuff like that, I can't do. But I try to find programs and services to help, but those are limited too. So it's just trying to think outside the box and see if we can find a solution to help individuals.
Yeah, you just mentioned with the one lady in the example about gathering all of the documents about her own life, that a lot of times we don't know those things about our own life, and we have to go get background information for agencies that have stricter requirements for, no, we need this many months of verifications of things. But anyway, you mentioned this one lady that you were working with for 2 months. So is it more often the case that you are working with somebody until that particular issue is solved, but then they leave your caseload and that's done? Okay, that's really very important because without that coverage, the senior would not have their health care. So that's really urgent.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in and out as long as they need me and as short as they need. Because some people I can solve the issues or give them resources or direct them or help them over the phone or a couple phone calls. Or I have people that repeat call once or twice a month just with general questions and help. And, so it's not opening a major case, but I
Yeah,
have all their data, their information. So they just know I'm there if they have a question or a need or something comes up. You
excellent.
never know.
That's really quite a good research. I have a couple of more questions in the chat, so I'm gonna get to those while we can. One caller says that they're on a fixed income, and they want to know for some reason, we don't know why, their Medicare needs to be reinstated. So we don't know why it stopped, but it seems like there's something about a payment that for money that she does not have. Um, so I think that kind of leads us into whether, it's difficult to answer that kind of question on a program like this,
Yes.
and probably more of an interview. Natallie, I think you would agree needs. Um, uh, who can this caller, if she lives in Kettering, or she or he lives in Kettering, can they call you?
Yeah, and I field calls from all different areas. I have Montgomery County and Greene County. I'm not. I'm just like I want to help everybody, so I'm not going to turn somebody
Yeah.
away. And I saw the next question, what's my minimum age? 60 and older is usually, the older adult population, but also I've gone out in the community because I want to help. So I've helped people below 60. It's just, some people have other issues that and situations that occur that I just can't tell somebody, no, you're completely on your own. It's just the services below 60 are very limited and very different. But I've worked with families and other populations, so I'm familiar. But I've been working with the older adult population a lot longer, but I can find resources pretty much on anything to help anyone as much as I can.
Yes, well, that's wonderful and admirable and very helpful. Do you do any kind of crisis work either on your own or with any of the other catering services that may be called out in a crisis? Are you one of that team, or tell us about that?
Usually, that's Nicole with the police department will go out on a crisis most likely. Now she has called me to come out um, afterwards with the follow-ups and the follow-throughs, and um, sometimes I've gotten calls and we've gone out and dealt with some situations, but I'm I'm not like Nicole. That's Nicole's primary role, is that primary crisis intervention, and more mine is the service coordination and follow up. I do the hoarding task force for Kettering. Me and Nicole both pretty much head up that, and we tag team a lot of residents. The Because that's a complicated dynamic when it comes to hoarding, so that needs a finesse to it with the
Right.
individuals.
Can you say a little bit more about how you are able to assist people with that? And the referrals, do they come from the people themselves? Usually people, I think, don't self-identify as a hoarder. It's usually somebody else
Yes.
that's saying that this is what's going on. So tell our viewers a little bit about how that comes to your attention, and then what types of steps you're able to do to help with that.
So a lot of the referrals can be from, of course, the fire and EMTs, because it's a safety issue for them to go in and try to save someone or help someone. Also, we have the planning and development, our property maintenance inspectors. Um, in some of the homes, you can just tell just from the outside, and just or even looking in, when they go out to a property. So then they'll do a referral over. Me and Nicole are baselining and going out and just doing a basic assessments, and because that's going to be the hardest part, is working with that individual, because that's a personal matter. That's your home, and it's them. So um, and you don't want to judge or put labels on them, and that's what a lot of people feel. So it's an emotional thing, so it's a very slow process. But the city wants to help individuals, so we're trying to find ways and programs, and area on aging is amazing if they have that service to help us with chore service to help individuals with
Yes.
those things.
Well, now, do most hoarders, are most of them individuals that are living alone? Or do
Yeah.
you find that sometimes, okay, you answered that with a
Ma-
nod.
Yeah, majority of them are alone. We've had a couple um, that are unique cases that we just got, that that's me and Nicole are a little fascinated, because we have like a sibling unit
Uh-huh.
that live together. So um, that's going to be an interesting case. But a lot of them are very lonely and have had some traumatic stuff happen. So it's just working through all that.
Right. Sounds like a rather longer term issue to kind of deal with slowly and with care. Now, do you all accept walk-ins in your offices there at the Kettering Government Center?
If you can find, if I'm there, yeah, if I'm there, that's fine. But just at least call. So I don't want people coming in and I'm not there, because I am in and out a lot. So
Right. It sounds like it that you're out at people's homes a lot. And do you, I mean, nobody can, but are you expected to work 24/7? I mean, do you work weekends and nights? And okay,
no,
so you're a daytime intervener and coordinator for people.
yeah, I'm a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Okay, all
Yep.
right. So that's when they can get you. And what what is your number that people should call? And even if you're out in the field, they can leave a message for you. So, but what is your number?
So my number is 937-296-3356.
Okay. And do you have any kind of online presence with a form where people can request services online?
No, but that is a good idea, though.
Oh,
That is,
okay.
yeah, that's a great idea. But a
Well,
lot of people will just call, or they'll call the Latham Center, and they'll send them my way too. So,
okay, yes, I'd like to come back and talk a little bit more about the Latham Center in a minute. But what would you? I know you've been there a relatively short time, but still, every week, every month, you have successes about problems solved for seniors through your work and your intervention and your teams. Would you like to just tell us a little bit about some of those successes that you feel like you've been able to help people significantly?
well, with the unwinding that happened, Medicare unwinding is the Medicaid unwinding. I'm sorry, which affects people's Quimby and Slimby for their Medicare co-payments. That's been a big challenge when I first took the position, and it was nice to be able to help individuals, um, because some people qualified, and when Job and Family goes through that paperwork real quick, sometimes it's just a miss of a button, and and we're all human. So it's just been nice to be a resource for people that I could look at stuff and say, oh, wait a minute, you do income qualify. Let's see what happened. And, I had at least five of them. It was just, they forgot to send a form. And like you said, Diane, they want 3 months worth, not 2 months worth or 6 months back. And people just didn't think that little things mattered, and when it's when it's Job and Family, they want certain amounts. So that was nice to be able to help some individuals. It's also nice to help. I have an assisted living assessment for someone with moderate to severe dementia, and she was hiding from the neurologist, and it was nice to make sure she got to the doctor. Her appointment was made. We got the final diagnoses, and now the level of cares can be done so we can get her placed so she's safe. you
Good.
know Kettering's about making sure their residents are safe, and they have the resources at hand if they could be safe at home or if they need the next level of care. So,
Right. Well, those kinds of situations are very rewarding for you in your work. Another caller, and I'm glad that we have so many viewers and callers tonight. It's always fun to hear what people are thinking out there. Another person is a senior who's looking at moving to Kettering, and they are living with disabilities and wants to know about if there's transportation for people with disabilities. I'm assuming this person's a senior, but you might want to broaden that even further about what transportation, and tell us what it's called again. The senior, what is the name of it? They have a senior transportation service. Anyway, tell us about that, please.
so the senior transportation service is through the Charles Latham Center, and it's for Kettering residents 60 and older. I know they do have wheelchair accessible vehicles. Um, they provide transportation to the Kettering areas. It's a $10 membership fee to join, and then you buy trip tickets, and each trip, depending on the mileage, is how many punches. They will go to the outreach. They'll go out to the green a little into that area, and then they'll go a little bit towards the Centerville area, and you can use it for errands, doctor's appointments, and so forth. So it's a nice transportation service. You just got to make sure you call prior 3 days or more prior. You can call up to 3 weeks prior. Um, you call the transportation line from 8 to 10 in the morning, and they'll schedule your rides for you that way.
Okay. And do you think um, will that transportation take people anywhere they want to go? like if a senior wants to have their hair done,
Mhm.
is that okay? So they're not asking seniors about where their destination is.
So
It's just a service that you book in advance. Then you have a membership of $10 and you pay the trip fee and you can go. Is that right?
yeah, so they'll ask when you call to set up the address and your time frames and so forth, so they can do
Sure.
the trip for you and schedule everybody. So yeah.
Okay, well, we have yet another caller that wants to know about uh, whether you provide food assistance. And if you don't, maybe you can talk about what your primary referrals for people are or how you coordinate that service for the people that contact you.
So I know the Latham Center was oh my goodness, my mind just blanked. It was a congregate site, that's the name, for
That's fine.
Meals on Wheels for Senior Resource. So, and with COVID, they just started those back up. So
That's good.
I would check with the Latham Center to see if they're continuing that program. Um, I have a list of the Kettering food pantries, but I can also find other food pantries that will service individuals based on zip codes. We can also, the Dayton Food Bank has their senior box if you meet certain income qualifications. So we can help try to find other food programs or even apply for, this food stamp benefits and see what we can find out there.
Okay, well, that's really very good. Being with the City of Kettering and being their senior services coordinator, we've talked a little bit about how you coordinate with other departments in the city. You mentioned about the housing inspection and some others, but um, tell us a little bit more about your coordination. Do you call on them as needed? Do they then call on you as needed? How does all that actually work out on a daily basis for you?
So, it's phone calls, emails, text messages. We all, uh, if we run across a client that we've believe another department's worked with, we'll contact them. Of course, doing this for so many years, if I know of another agency or have heard of another agency, I'll check with Area on Aging a lot to see if they have my resident or if they've had assessments. They're wonderful to work with as an agency to in communicating and working with them to make sure, I'm there to help them as an agency too, to help these seniors get, assessments and their certifications and their paperwork. Um, Job and family, of course, is wonderful. I work with them, and that's emails, phone calls, the same kind of routes. And when we go to, I go in any networking meetings or community meetings, I try to, say hello, and if we have mutual clients, then we try to work together or team plan together real quick.
Oh, good. Now, the Charles I. Latham Center is primarily a senior center, is it not?
Yes.
So, what is your relationship with them? I mean, they run the senior travel, the senior transportation service. But and so you would refer people back and forth to that. But what else do you all do together?
Um, Pretty much they'll refer over to me if they have some residents that are starting to have some issues or they're seeing some concerning declines and so forth. Um, I refer to them when there is certain programming and services that, I had a resident call me today asking about some of the exercise classes and some of the dancing and so forth. So I pulled up she couldn't use the internet, so I pulled up for her, our electronic stuff and was reading to her and gave her the, to call over to the Latham Center, or if she needed me to come out, I would help her um, book some classes. But I know they'll take care of her over the phone. It's just, some people are very comfortable with working with the Latham staff, and some people were more comfortable with working with Vicky. So it's just interchangeable, um, making the client residents comfortable with both individuals, because um, I don't do too much programming over there because they run a little different. My more is more hands on. They're an activity center and resource.
Okay.
They have presenters and more of the recreational side of being an older adult, and then
Yeah.
I do more of the hands-on social part,
Of the
social work.
coordination. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then do they do you find that a lot of the senior population that you're dealing with is comfortable or is not comfortable in using all of this new technology that we all, are dealing with now? What's your feeling about that as a senior services coordinator?
I've had half and half. I had a 90-year-old engineer. I went to visit him, and he had computer stuff everywhere. And of course, a friend of ours, Trace Curry, I called up Trace, and I was like, he's asking me stuff I don't understand. He's way above me in computers. And Trace was like, I'll come out and see him. And I just talked to Trace today, and he was like, I just saw so and so today, and we're having a blast. Him and I are fixing his computer. We fixed his laptop, and like, I have some seniors that are just running with it, and then there's just some that they just don't want it. They don't want to deal with it, and I don't blame them, because I was working with a client this morning, and I'm like, I just don't understand, and I'm like, I don't even like technology, and I'm younger, and I have issues with it, so it can be very aggravating.
Right. It can be, and particularly for people who didn't have to use it for their younger lives. And now all of a sudden everybody wants you, well, just look it up online. And, they may not be able to do that or may not afford the internet to do that. So, um, then the senior resource guide that Kettering produces, I took a look at that, and it's actually very long. It's 105 pages long. I wonder, you're probably finding a lot of seniors that are using that.
Yeah, so that I'm trying to update that needs
That's a
a big.
task. Yeah, that's
Yes,
a
that is.
job.
Yeah. So, luckily, Kettering has wonderful volunteer programs. So I finally broke down and asked a volunteer um, to help me. And hopefully by 2024, I'll have a whole new resource guide online with links, because I think that'll help family members and adults that are computer. Um, I think having a link, it's a lot easier, because the resources can change so much, or the names can change so much. So I'm hoping to eventually work it to where we can keep it updated a little more to more of a real time. But that's all a work in progress. I've only been in the office 5 months, so I'm trying the best I can as quick as I can.
Well, you can't accomplish all of that at once. It's a 105-page resource document, and it really covers most of the county. So it's quite a big thing to actually try to update. We've already talked about the transportation services a little bit. But that's always something that we hear about in the community, that, oh, seniors need transportation. Do you think, I mean, that I know that this is an excellent service, but do you feel like it is pretty much addressing what the seniors that you work with need at this time?
Hmm. Um, Free transportation would always be wonderful. You
Uh,
know, everybody's on a fixed income. Um, and a more personal door-to-door service would be wonderful. That's what everybody wants. But I don't know if it's realistic. And that, that's a hard piece to work as a city. I think what we do is great. I know the RTA and Project Mobility are also there, but then again, there's limits to all those programs. So,
Right, exactly. I have I've heard quite a bit about the Kettering Safe Senior Program. Do you interact with that very much? And can you tell our viewers a little bit more about that, and then also how you interact with that?
sure. So that program is through the Kettering Police Department, and Officer Drayton is the coordinator over that program. So me and Officer Drayton work pretty closely together. And what we do is they can either call Officer Drayton or they can call me, and I can come out and start the file of life and get a basic assessment done. And then I can forward it to Officer Drayton. So the file of
Now,
life.
tell us what the file of life is. A lot of viewers may not have any idea. What's the file of life?
So a file life has all your information, like your address, your date of birth, your medical, your emergency contact, if you have animals. So, and our file life also discuss where you wander, where your memories are, because a lot of the Safe Senior program is for individuals with cognitive disabilities, not only just our seniors, but also we have younger individuals that have special needs and cognitive issues. So, and what they do is we compile this information that's important and they put it into the dispatcher's database for the
Right.
police and fire. So, if there is, say, a power outage or emergency services, always has that data and information on their screen. So if they get a call or your name or anything comes up, they can pull up all your information right there immediately.
Okay. And they also would maintain a key for entrance to the property should they need it, right?
Yeah, so for a small fee for a lockbox, or we'll try to find a grant or a program to, pay for the lockbox because I think they're like $35. We'll put a lockbox on the door and have a code that everybody can get in. Yeah, so it's a great program. Um, I actually have my mother-in-law because I live in Kettering and my mother-in-law lives in Kettering, and
Yeah.
she has some health conditions, and Officer Drayton comes out, he meets them. It's a voluntary program. He wants them very comfortable with him, but it's also a comfort for the family because I know if something happens or if she would go off or wander or something, I know that city services has all her information and knows how to take care of her until one of us is reached.
So there's a bracelet that the participants wear that contains all of that data in it.
I
If
think it's
they,
identification bracelet for the
okay,
police and fire to know. I know there's a sticker that goes on the car and their home window, and it's just a little thing that the fire and police understand and know what it means. It's not like here this person has
yeah,
some issues. It's
right.
more for the professionals to know this person's in the database.
Okay, okay. And do you know how many people are participating in that program?
To be honest, I do not
Okay.
know.
Do you have
Officer
much? Okay, go ahead.
No, Officer Drayton runs that program. We just coordinate together to make sure, because they're seniors, we work together to make sure they get onto that program.
Oh, good. So the referrals kind of go both ways, as you've described with the other departments, that you'll refer to that, and then if they find somebody that they think needs your service, they'll refer back to you. So it kind of goes both ways. Well, that sounds great. Um, Now, you mentioned that Kettering has a very active volunteer program, which is, always wonderful to have volunteer involvement. Do you have a number of volunteers that are already on board to be assisting you?
So, Vicky had quite a few volunteers, but I'm down to just two right now. I have a nurse that helps with blood pressure clinics. So, we do blood pressure clinics on Thursdays, and I have a volunteer. He also helps with registering people and making coffee, and helps me manage when we do have clients, or if I have to run out or something happens and I need to leave. So it's nice to have a volunteer nurse on staff to help with blood pressures and do them. I can do them, but it's also nice to have that flexibility. And they're just I love them to death. You know, Rick and Julie are my favorites. And they're older too. They're in their 60s, and they're just giving back. So I just, it's a team effort. So I love it.
Yeah, volunteers are a precious resource for all of us, in the social service world or the nonprofit world. Now, do you all provide the Medicare advisory service counseling?
I am OSHIP certified. I can help navigate some of it. I understand the Medicaid a lot more. I mean, that's kind of what I've been dealing with for years. I can answer basic questions and get people, like, I'm going to sit down with the lady next week. She called me and made an appointment. We're going to apply for her Social Security. We're going to discuss her Medicare. And then I'm going to recommend her setting up with a Medicare navigator to make sure all the, because there's such complex systems. I do not want, that's just one thing I do not want to mess up, is their Social Security and their Medicare. So
Yeah, sure, sure. Yes, I understand. But you'll get people started and get them pointed in the right direction.
yes, yeah.
Okay, which is really quite good. And in this program, if there are people that are viewing it that are interested in volunteering, is there a number or a website or something that you'd like to give that people could contact if they want to get, well, they can just call your number if they want to get in touch with you, and then you can get them to where they need to be to sign up to volunteer.
Yeah, I can get them the volunteer application or give them the volunteer office. I can
And so
go
what's
with.
your number again, in case people have jumped onto the program since you last gave it?
Sure, my number is 937-296-3356.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. What else would you like to talk about that I didn't think to ask you tonight?
I don't know. We've had so many questions and so many
Yeah.
callers, so they've been hitting pretty much everything. Um, just if they give me a call, just I'll try to call as quick as I can. It's just I'm in and out of the um, for emergency rental assistance. So that's a good question.
It's a
Someone
tough
just
one.
asked about the emergency rental assistance. Um, Homeful, I know, is still running the emergency rental assistance program. I know Kettering, we just closed ours out. August 18th was the last day for applications. So I know that's going to be a hot topic coming down the road for a lot of social services. It's because rental assistance is greatly needed in the area. So unfortunately, all I can think of is Miami Valley Community Action Partnership and Homeful at the moment, um, and maybe some local churches, but that's off the top of my head.
Right. No, that's very good. Thank you. That's very helpful. But the caller who called in about that could always contact you directly, and you can talk it through with them about where they live and how much they need and what their problem is, and what their circumstances is. So that's very good that you're there to do that. Well, again, I'd like to thank you, but before we close up this program, I would just like to ask you if there's any other closing remarks you might like to make before we ring off tonight.
Well, just thank you for having me, Diane. And just people can give me a call and just give me some time. Some days, some days are a little busier than others, and I'm not trying to ignore anybody, but there's only 8 hours in a day. I do need to go home, so I'll try my hardest to call them back as soon as I can. So that's about
Okay,
it.
well, we feel absolutely confident that you do. So you will get back to them if they have to, if they have to leave a message. So that sounds great. Well, Natallie, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to tell all of our viewers about the Kettering Social Senior Services Coordinator, and to introduce Natallie Storms, who's relatively new in that position, which is an exciting place to be, to have a new position, and encourage people that live particularly in Kettering. But even if you don't, if you want to contact Natallie, she'll point you in the right direction if she's not the exact perfect one for you. So thank you so much, Natallie. I appreciate all the information that you've been able to provide to all of our viewers, and we thank you for the important work that you're doing in the community for our senior citizens. They're precious. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you for what you do.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, I'd like to thank the viewers too for watching this evening and for calling in. And we'll see you next month. Thank you very much. Good night.